Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hi, it's Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. Today's podcast is just something that I've been thinking about, which is, why do clients leave? And it's quite a big question because when you think about it, there are so many reasons why people would leave. But I'm going to narrow it down to what I think is probably the most crucial aspect of why clients stay and what causes them to leave. And I'm going to reveal the answer to you right at the start, but you can keep listening. And the reason why they stay is community. And the reason why they leave is just a lack of that community. If you think this premise is bizarre, well, I don't blame you. But stay with me as we explore this concept. And let's start out with the article writing course, which is the toughest writing course in the world. That's the way we promote it, the toughest writing course in the world. And what is so dramatic about the first week of that course? That very, very tough course. Clients often ask us whether we get dropouts on our courses. And the answer is yes, we do. But the curious part is not that we have dropouts, everybody has dropouts, but when do we get the dropouts? So do they happen in the middle? Do they happen towards the end? Or when do they drop out? And the answer is in the first week of the course. Now, a psychotactics course has a slightly different build-up. All the notes, all the audio, if there are any videos, they're all sent to you a month in advance. There is a gradual build-up. You have to do this and that and stuff. So people have to fill in forms and answer questions, and there is all of this build-up before the course. It's not like it's a big surprise. It just shows up, boom, and it's there. No. You have the build-up. You have the prospectus. You know what to expect. You know that it's going to last 3 months. And yet, in the first week of the course, some people leave. And you think, why would they leave in the first week of the course? And more importantly, why don't they leave in, say, the 5th or 6th week? Because when you look at the first week, it's remarkably easy, and it's designed to be that way. When you're teaching someone, if you start off with something so difficult, then they're intimidated, they don't know what to do, and the easy thing is to bail out. If you're looking at the headlines course, or the article writing course, or any of the courses that we do, one of the things that comes to mind right away is that this week is way too easy. We know that. We know that it's remarkably easy, and yet people bail out. And my premise is that they haven't had enough time to form connections. Because when you go through the course, after a week and 2 weeks, you then split up into smaller groups. So even if we took 25 people, they would be split up into smaller groups. And eventually what you have is a connection between those groups. They stop listening to me as, Mr. Maestro, and they start listening to each other, and they're working with each other, and they're communicating with each other. And that is the bonding, the community that makes all the difference. The people who leave too quickly haven't had enough time to create that bonding. Now, obviously, we're talking about a course. What if we were to take it to a membership site? We have run our membership site at 5000 BC since 2003. As you can tell, we've had a lot of experience in that area. And when you look at all the people that are constantly communicating with each other or are in the Taking Action group and working with each other, are the ones that renew their membership on a consistent basis. Who are the people that leave? They're the ones that are not part of the community. They're there for other reasons. They're there to ask me questions. They're there to get information. But after a while, that all gets very tiring. There are so many questions to ask. You don't know what questions to ask. So you want to write an ebook, or you want to create a podcast, or there are so many questions. And it's not easy to know what questions to ask. The default system is to start reading information and then trying to collate everything and put it together. But very soon, all information becomes like the library. There is too much to work through. So what's left? And the only thing that's really left is, am I alone in this place? Am I the only person doing this? Am I looking foolish? When you have one other person that is on that journey with you, everything changes. Even if you're second-guessing yourself, even if you're thinking, I'm foolish, I'm procrastinating, I'm this and I'm that, the other person ratifies that they're feeling the same way. And sometimes winning together is a great thing. Losing is also a great thing when you know that you're not alone. And what ties it all together is this sense of community. You might not think of it as community. You might think that the client leaves because of price, because of lack of information, because they don't have the right information. There are many reasons why they would leave, but what keeps them there? What would keep them there on a consistent basis? And that is precisely the community that you build. And it's not just about information. It could be about a cafe. It could be about a yoga class. It could be about any service or consulting that you provide. Take, for instance, this friend that I mentioned about in the last podcast. He's a consultant and he works individually with businesses. As you'd expect, he'd show up and they'd talk and then they'd come to some conclusion about what project they're doing, etc. But every 3 months, he rents out a space and he gets all of the group together. All of the 25 people get together, and that's where they meet. And that's part of the community. That's where they do the networking. That's where everything really starts to glue together. Now, there are certain situations where this community is almost a natural flow of things. If you're having a course like the copywriting course or the article writing course, you can go, okay, we haven't really had this community thing before, so let's do it this time. Let's create a community. But let's say you're running a yoga class or a watercolor class. What are you going to do in terms of community? And this is where we start to create events. When you start to create an event, what you're doing is you're getting people who come to that class who are strangers, who just say hello, but know nothing about the other person. So there is no bond, there is no glue, there is no anything. And it's much easier for them to leave. But you notice the moment you get to know a few people in the class, if you're bold enough to get to know a few people in the class, then it's so much better to go through that very class. What needs to be done as a business owner is for you to create that community. And we do this with an event. You have an event, you call people to that event. Maybe they pay for the event, but they come together as a community. And then you make sure that they introduce themselves to each other. You create smaller groups where they introduce themselves to each other. All business falls into 3 main categories. The first is consulting, the second is training, and the third is leverage. What is consulting? Consulting is similar to what my friend does. He speaks one-on-one with clients and he could end it there, but no. He creates a community where they meet. And maybe you don't have to rent a room. Maybe you just meet in the garden. Maybe you just meet for a coffee for a bit of a discussion. He takes the entire day so that they get lunch and they do all of that stuff. And so that's kind of a consulting model. And you can create a community even if you're just working one-on-one with each other. Then you have a training model. Maybe you have a yoga class or a watercolor class or a class online. The trick is not to have these vast number of people. 100 people, 50 people, 16 people, too big. What you need are around 6 to 7 people at the most. Sometimes 2 people are too few because if one drops out, then you're lost again. So what you're going to do is you're always trying to create people to meet up and to come back and to help each other on an ongoing basis. And then it takes the pressure off you as well, because now they are meeting with each other. They are communicating with each other. They are saying hello to each other. That's what's driving them back. So we had this consulting model, 1:1, we still have a community. 1:many, which is a training model. Again, people come together for that training, but then you create community. And then we have the leverage model. Say you have a restaurant, you go, oh, wait, all of these people are showing up individually. How are we going to create a community? All community is created by some sort of event. You call people to a specific kind of dinner, and then again, either people pay for it or they come free. But now they get to know each other. And when people know each other, the mundane act of getting a coffee or doing some kind of project, it becomes so much more interesting. And if you're an entrepreneur, you know this to be true. Working by yourself is probably the biggest curse of an entrepreneur. Time and time again, clients express the same problem, and that is being an entrepreneur is such a lonely journey. No matter how famous you are, no matter what you do, it is a lonely journey. And the same applies to your client. For them, they need to know other people. They need to have their group, a small group, maybe just a couple of people, if that's what it takes, to go along that trip. And that makes that journey so interesting. So when you think of why a client would have left your business or your consulting or your training and never come back, it's very easy to think of, oh, they didn't get enough information, oh, I didn't do a good job, or whatever reason. That's possibly true. There are other elements. But we don't think in terms of community. I know that a lot of questions still need to be answered. How do you build that community? What do you give that community? There are lots of questions that need to be answered. But on this Monday morning, I thought, well, to me at least, I think community is one of the biggest loyalty systems that you can have, and very few of us are using it. Or making the community small enough so that it's viable and people get to know each other. So in summary, what do we do? Well, we have 2 stages. The first is to build our community, and then ironically, to make it smaller or to create subsets. Even if you're running a business like a web design firm or some kind of thing like copywriting, where all your clients are separated, what you've got to do is get them together. And you don't have to get them together as part of a workshop or, I don't know, like a membership site. You can just get them together for an event. And then, depending on how many clients you have, maybe you have 10, and then it's small enough to handle. But, the part of a group is that as you accumulate clients, you're going to have a lot of them. Now you get them together, and then you go to the second stage, which is you create subsets where there are just 6 or 7 people, and they can communicate with each other and get to know each other. And what you've got now is the community. And as I mentioned earlier, it's an amazing loyalty system because people are not just individuals, but they're part of a group. That's pretty much it from me at Psychotactics Land. Bye for now. Still listening? One of the problems that we have with workshops especially, and well, not just workshops, but courses as well, is that people sign up so quickly. So we know from our past experience that if you've been to a workshop or if you've been to a course, then the chances of you signing up are far greater. And why not? you've got the results that you wanted. But people often say that they are coming back because they had so much fun. And this is very interesting because you would think, oh, they're there for the results and they're there for the information and they're there for whatever specific reason. And they are. Nobody just goes to an event. Well, most people don't go to an event just for fun. But what they miss out when they're in other groups is they're still very much individuals. And we work very hard to create that community, those groups. And so the problem that we have there is that people sign up so quickly that we have to somehow work out how do we get new people as well so that they can be part of the community as well, instead of just having the same group come back repeatedly. It's lovely to have the same group come back repeatedly, but you also have to have new people. And so there's this fine balance that you have to work with courses and workshops. And whatever business you're doing, it's going to be the same thing. So that was a little bit of information. Let me just end with something that you probably heard before. And this is this saying, I don't know where it comes from. I was told it comes from Africa. But it is profound. And it says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a group. And I'll tell you, it's more fun being part of a group. And that's it from Psychotactics Land. We'll see you in 5000 BC.